Hey, what's up, everybody? So we are back with episode 4 of The Last of Us. This episode basically made me never want to stop and help anybody ever again because it's not worth it. I want to keep my car in one piece.
Especially in the apocalypse.
That is true. Either way, what did we think about episode 4 before we get into some spoilers?
I like the episode a lot.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot happened action-wise, but there was a lot of story building. There was a lot of bonding between Ellie and Joel. We were introduced to a few new characters.
Yeah.
So, it was a good...
Really, we were introduced into like a whole faction, almost.
Yeah.
I mean, if you play the video game, the couple characters might be new to you, but like, for me, this whole city and landscape is completely new.
So what did you think of the episode?
I enjoyed it for what it was. There was one character a new character that I really couldn't just get into and buy as like a, scary villain type-ish character. Overall, I mean, I like their, the world building. You're seeing more of, Joel and Ellie's kind of character bonding moments. So overall, I liked the show, but like you said, there wasn't like a whole lot of action. It was more like, here's a new person, here's a new person, here's a new person. Like, here's all these people that you're going to want to know for the future kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it kind of helped with what I was missing previous to this episode, which is Joel and Ellie really connecting.
Yeah,
this,
there were
this
a lot of
episode
moments.
gave that to us tenfold. So
yeah, there were a lot of moments throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
About dad jokes and sticky
I
pages on in books and magazines she finds. So all right, so this is the point of the video where we're gonna get into spoilers. No, we're not talking about spoilers with sticky pages and books that we find in the back of trucks. We're gonna be talking about the episode, how it differs, how it's the same of the game, and we're gonna go more in depth with kind of what we thought about the overall episode. But with that being said, what kind of differs from the game? What's the same as the game almost? Because I know you said it's kind of almost close word for word.
Yeah, a lot of it was word for word. Them in the truck, the funny moment where she's like, "I'm not even tired," and then the next second she's sleeping.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, when they go camping, that's not in the game, but I like that because it was able to show us like that connection, and then you see Joel ends up getting up and holding the gun, like standing guard the whole night because he's protecting her. So you're kind of realizing that he's starting to see her like as a Sarah.
Yeah.
Which I feel like in the game it happens a lot sooner, but he's a little more reserved in the show.
Yeah. I like those little moments, and I know she has like her dad jokes and stuff that she's been kind of throwing out there, and it seems like he's thought they were funny, but he doesn't really want to show any emotion to or anything like that. And like you said, how he's standing guard with the gun. I really think it was kind of something really that she said too. Was I think she said something along the lines of like, can they see this light, or can they see us how far away or whatever? And that was
if a campfire was
and I think that was part of the reason why he kind of got up and was sitting there watching guard, because you can see she says that, it cuts to him and he's almost in his face, he's like, maybe I should.
Well, she was asking, are you worried about the infected people seeing the campfire? He's like, no, it's people I'm worried about.
Yeah, because we're too far out.
This whole episode.
Yeah, it's how insane people can get during the apocalypse, and not just the infected that are going to come at you regardless. So then they get into Kansas City. They're kind of just basically driving on the freeway, an easy peasy drive. He did mention earlier that a lot of the army, brought in tanks and big trucks with like plows in front of them to kind of clear paths out of the way. So it kind of makes sense where they're just driving easy peasy, nothing in the way for them. And then they kind of run into a tunnel, and it almost looks like it's trapped.
Yeah, it looked like someone put a big like billboard in the way and then stacked trucks there to block the tunnel. Yeah, because he even looks underneath it, and like the tunnel's completely clear besides this one thing that's in the way. So you kind of get suspicious on that, and he kind of looks at the map, says, okay, we could just drive around,
this little area, go through a couple side streets, boom, we're back on the road. But they end up getting lost and kind of just driving around Kansas City. And this is where you hit your kind of, I guess, I would say big peak moment of the episode. Because before this, it's just them driving, bonding. And this is when you get like the guy that comes up to him, help, I'm hurt, please stop. And you can just tell Joel's like, nah, I'm not having this.
Yeah, he knows immediately what they're doing.
Yeah, and he put on your seatbelt. We're gonna drive right through it, and you can even see like Ellie's calling out people that are on roofs. They're throwing rocks down at him, and they end up just crashing right into a building, and all hell kind of breaks loose after that.
Yeah, and that's pretty much exactly how it happens in the game.
Holy shit. Are we gonna help him?
Put your seatbelt on, Ellie.
Well, what about the guy?
He ain't even hurt.
Alone and sick and by feet and by stand. Oh Lord, if you hear me, please take my hand.
The only difference is you're in Pittsburgh in the game, but they throw this big cinder block through the windshield and break that open and throws them off, and then they hit the spikes and crash.
I did know, I watched like a behind the scenes of it, and they did say the reason they picked Kansas City instead of Pittsburgh was because where they're filming, I think it's somewhere in Canada, I believe. They said that the buildings in that area looked more like what Kansas City does. So that was kind of their reasoning to change the city. I don't think they just hate Pittsburgh, even though go Cleveland Browns, screw Pittsburgh Steelers. Either way, that's nothing to do with this show. But
Yeah.
so after that, we get into, a shootout, and Joel basically tells Ellie, hey, you see that little hole? Go in there, go hide, do not come out until you hear me call for you, because things are going to get crazy.
Yeah, and this is a lot different from the game too, because when they crash, they call them hunters in the game. They're all over them, and they pull Ellie out of the car themselves. So it's like a scramble and a fight where Joel's trying to fight off one guy, and he takes care of him, and then he has to rush over to Ellie and get the guy off Ellie. So it's not quite the same, but
It's just crazy to think that this dude is like 55 years old
yeah.
and like fighting off people and murdering people. It's like,
I guess it's a harsh environment, so
I guess that is true.
he's fit, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
But either way, it kind of differs a little bit from the game. He shoots, I think, one or two people that are out by the cars, and then there's a guy that bursts in, and he's trying to load his gun, so he has to hit him with the butt of his gun. They start fighting, and this is kind of where Ellie comes out of the wall because she hears them struggling, and she kind of sees the guy on top of Joel choking him out with the gun, and she ends up shooting him in the back. And this, I know you mentioned about the guy saying, like, trying to humanize himself.
Yeah.
Some of the game.
Yeah, I'm guessing they had some sort of training to where if they get down, they start to humanize themselves so that whoever's shooting at them or whatever, they feel sympathy.
Yeah, because
But in the game, when you're hitting people and you down them, they start doing that in the game as well. So
yeah, because he literally went from like choking him out to like, no, my mom's down the street. Like, if you just bring me to her, like everything will be okay. And like he pulls out his knife, like, here you go, you can have my knife. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think Ellie shoots him right in the spine because his legs are just done.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that makes sense, and that's a cool kind of little Easter egg that I'm assuming that they put in there because it just makes sense that one kind of relates to the other. But either way, that happens, and they start to disperse, and they kind of start hiding.
Well, that's another big moment because he's trying to tell them not to kill him, right?
Yeah.
And Joel tells Ellie to go.
To go in the wall and hide.
And that's another moment where you realize that Joel is seeing Ellie as like his daughter. He's protecting her from these harsh things.
Yeah, he doesn't want to see her somebody die in front of her kind of thing.
Yeah, and you realize that she is also beginning to really just trust his judgment, and she goes. Like,
yeah, that is true.
There's like
really
very quick hesitation, and then she just turns and goes quickly.
Yeah. And then you just, pulls out that knife, and my boy Joel does some work. See, the one
Pretty
thing...
heartbreaking, but
Yeah, well...
it's also crazy situations.
The one thing I was wondering, too, is we'll getting further, I guess, they bring the body to this big group of people that have taken over Kansas City and Fedra, and, they run the city, basically. And we meet a woman named Kathleen, who is the leader of the group. I know you said she's not in the game at all, right?
No, this whole scenario that's playing out, they're just hunters. They don't have a cause or anything.
So it's like basically you get to the city, you have to kind of work your way past them, but it's not there's not like a lot of backstory to them or anything?
No, there's no backstory to them.
Gotcha, okay.
They're just running the city like you see, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know any characters.
You don't know the leader and stuff like that. Yeah, so you get a lot of backstory with her right off the bat, where she's interrogating a doctor, and she's trying to find out information to find, I believe, Henry and his brother. So apparently they were leaders of Fedra, or part of Fedra.
Well, I think there was something to do with people turning other people into Fedra. Maybe they're hoarding food, or for whatever reason. They would turn them. They're incentivized to turn them into Fedra. I'm guessing to get some kind of food themselves, or break.
Okay. It's just like a benefit, basically.
Yeah, so she's basically hunting these people from their neighborhood that was turning people in, and so And the doctor, I guess, is one of the people, and Henry is also one of them.
But getting to that point, what I was thinking of, and this is like a little earlier, what I was talking about with the guy that Joel ended up killing in the little area market or whatever he was in, the little building. They bring him to Kathleen. I don't know if this was ever actually said, but he's there either dying or already dead, and she's
dead.
Yeah, and she asks, like, is he dead? And the guy looks up, and you kind of just know. Do we ever know, is that like her son? Or
Yeah, that's what I thought initially, but she was quite cold about it overall, I think, so...
Because I don't
know.
Yeah, because as soon as she found out that he was like dead, she literally went into the cell again and just shot the doctor.
Yeah.
So like I'm assuming there's some type of relationship, I would assume at least, because you don't have that type of anger where you just go murder somebody because someone else is dead.
Well, she thinks Henry killed these people, so she's just like had it.
Yeah,
and or you have that moment where it's like, would a doctor help? And he's like, no. So she just takes him out. Like, okay, I guess we don't need a doctor.
Didn't they think, or like I guess their idea is that Henry actually hired or got information out to a mercenary?
That's what
Joel's like that mercenary.
Someone mentioned that he got to a radio.
And like radioed out. Yeah. So then this is where everything, all the panic starts happening. Where she basically, Kathleen says, "Kill everybody if you find them. Dead. They're just dead. Don't even worry about it." They start raiding houses, buildings, and Joel and Ellie are really kind of like just slowly creeping through different buildings. And this is kind of, I think this builds...
I like this part, because in the game, a lot of times, Joel will like lift Ellie into some little crawl space. And then she has to go around. So it's kind of cool to see it. It happens multiple times in the show where you get her into a room, and then she opens the door for Joel. So
like he was just basically pushing the door, but she's like pulling that desk.
An Easter egg, I guess.
So then we cut to Kathleen and Perry and all of their men sweeping all of these buildings to try and find where they think the mercenary is, where it's basically they think it's Joel and Ellie and running around. They get up into a little attic area, and this is kind of a pivotal moment, because at first you think they're just trying to find this guy named Henry, and it's just one dude. Like, he's just, sneaking around everywhere.
Yeah, and the way she's acting about it makes you think that he's like a murderer.
Yeah, like this really violent guy that's like really ruthless.
Yeah.
But you get up in there, and you can see there's like kid drawings of like Superman, superheroes, stuff like that. So it really kind of gives you the realization that you're chasing a kid too.
Yeah, you really realize that she's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And she's turned into what she hated so much, which is Fedra.
Yeah, I mean, they overthrow Fedra, and it really, a lot of the times, what comes in place after anything like that is basically more or less the exact same thing. It's not any better or any worse.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, I thought that was a good thing to throw in there is that, like, you know, she's talking like Fedra is this end-all, be-all evil entity. Anybody who helped Fedra is terrible. They should be hunted down. But really, she's basically turned into the new Fedra without actually being called Fedra, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and then she looks around, and you can see that there's open cans, and
Yeah.
so it looks like they ran out of food, and maybe that's why they've left this area, because they need to find food elsewhere.
Yeah, and she even says, like, oh, they have to be close because he's not going to let this, you know, this kid die of starvation, and they have to find food. So
Yeah.
this kind of leads you into them, you know, going to search other places, and Perry goes down into, like, a little basement area, comes back up, tells Kathleen, hey, like, you have to see this. They go down, and it looks like there's almost an implosion or like a sinkhole almost. And you're just like, and me, you know, this guy probably was like, oh shit, like this is gonna be crazy. But I have no idea. And I just, you know, you're watching and you're like, okay, cool, it's a sinkhole. Like, I'm thinking maybe, you know, the spores are gonna come up or something. I don't know. But you see the ground kind of shift up and move a little bit. And they're like, okay, does anybody else know? No. All right, let's not tell them just yet. So we all know something huge has to be coming.
Yeah, and that really tells you that she has become Fedra, because instead of making the choice to protect her people and either take care of whatever this is or leave,
Yeah, to get out of the way, yeah.
she chooses to direct everybody against Henry to try and find Henry, because we have to avenge all these people, and
Yeah.
so
Because she's more or less trying to find this one person, and, you know, if this, whatever this is, the ground breaks up and starts killing her men, well, we got to find Henry first, and then that's almost a second afterthought for her.
it's just turned into a personal vendetta that everybody else is her weapon, basically. So this is when you realize how guilty Joel is feeling about the earlier interaction where he didn't hear the guy coming up behind him, and he basically, because of that, Ellie got forced into the position where she pretty much had to come and save Joel.
Yeah.
Which takes a toll on a child to have to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you really see how heavy that is weighing on Joel in this moment.
Yeah, that's what he's been trying to, like, keep her away from.
Yeah, he's trying to protect her from everything.
Yeah, and he just feels really guilty that she had to do that to save his life, and, you know, he should just be able to do it himself and keep her away from all of that situation.
Yeah, and she does mention that that's not the first time she's had to hurt somebody.
Yeah, and he kind of pries and asks, like, you know, do you want to talk about it? She's like, no, I'm all right for now. I definitely don't want to.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, okay, that's okay, and he rolls back over, and then she starts cracking some more dad jokes, and we get some more awesome interaction between the two people. So
yeah, it seems like this episode really, it built a world around, like, this whole Kansas City, you know, people that took over Fedra. But you really get, like, deep down, you get more Ellie and Joel time where it seems like they're actually connecting, and Joel cares about Ellie, and then vice versa. So that was a nice interaction, especially at the end of the episode, because then after that, they fall asleep, and then, you know, Ellie wakes Joel up. She's got a gun in the back of her head, and then he wakes up to see Sam holding a gun, which would kind of be frightening. I wouldn't want to wake up to, like, a 12-year-old holding a gun right to my face. Cause,
yeah, and he's in a superhero outfit, just like his drawings.
Yeah, with, like, his, like, painted-on mask and that. Yeah. So, either way, that's where the episode ends. I know this guy has been dying to talk about a couple of things that are different from the game, so I'm going to let him get crazy right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the main differences are there's just a lot of additional backstory to the hunters that they're called in the game. And then there's a lot more going through buildings that we don't see and trying to get to this tall building. And you're taking out, like, whole crews of people. And then there's a moment where...
I mean, it makes sense. The video game, you have to...
Yeah, you gotta get
the video game's not going to be like, all right, now Joel and Ellie just walk upstairs. Just get up to the 11th floor.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of the same scene where Joel shows Ellie how to hold a gun so that it can't get knocked out of her hand easily.
Yeah.
And so, but in the game, he's showing her how to shoot a rifle, and then she's like support from the top while he goes down to take out a bunch of people.
So Ellie's basically like a sniper.
Yeah, she's a little sniper in that scene.
All right.
Yeah, and then they're going through building and building, and then the way you're introduced to Henry and Sam in the game is he jumps through a window, and Henry grabs Joel around the neck and starts strangling him, and then there's a fight between the two of them, and he flips Henry over his back and starts punching him, and then Ellie's like, Joel, stop, because then you see Sam standing there with a gun on
kid.
Joel.
Okay.
And that's how you're introduced to Henry and Sam in the game. And that's where the show ends, so that's where I'm going to stop for the game.
All right, you heard it here first. Come back next episode. You'll hear more of what he has to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, either way, that is the end of episode 4. That is the end of, at least up until now, of the video game as well. So it seems like there's little deviations in the game and the show, but the end goal is still the exact same. You know, last episode, they still ended up getting the car to drive to go see Tommy. Same thing this episode. You know, they're going through, they're fighting people, stuff like that. But the end goal is still they meet Henry and Sam, and it seems like it's nice that you can write characters in and, you know, get more depth into these characters, but still the overall plot is still staying intact.
Yeah, and in the game, actually, Henry makes a little comment to Sam, like, oh no, they're safe. I know they're not the hunters. And he's like, how do you know? And it's like, because he has a kid with him. And if you haven't noticed, the hunters don't have kids around.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
besides that one
pretty dark
kind of teenager kid that died, at least in
in
the show,
in the
at
game.
least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I am definitely looking forward to the next episode, though. I never watched
No spoilers.
No, I never watched the end trailers, so I don't know what's coming up in the show, but I know it's coming up based off the game. So,
and I know what's coming up because everybody on Instagram is nonstop posting because the Super Bowl
screenshots.
Yeah, the Super Bowl is coming up, and then they're bringing the episode on Friday instead of Sunday because nobody's gonna watch it on Sunday. So I got a screenshot of it already, but I don't know what else is gonna happen. Something crazy might happen. Who knows? It might be just a nice game of Uno, and that's it.
Something's crazy is definitely gonna happen.
Either way, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a comment down in the section below letting us know what you think about this episode. What do you think about overall? What do you think about the show so far? Are you liking the differences between the video games and the show itself? Are you happy that the overall plot really seems like it's staying together? Either way, definitely let us know, and we will see you with episode 5. Definitely not on Sunday when the Super Bowl. But we'll see you later. Okay, now we're back with 2, I guess. I'm never going to stop to help somebody ever again. I'm just going to drive right through. If it looks like a trap, it's a trap.
Only in Doomsday.
What? What does that even mean?
Oh, only during the Doomsday. You don't drive through like a regular person.
What the fuck are you talking about? What does that even mean? Well, hello there. I say that like 3 fucking times, so I feel like that's fucking stupid anyway.
Good day.
Yeah. Well, I
Good day to you.
I always say, hey, what's up, guys? So we cut to more of them sweeping buildings and, you know, everything, everywhere. Fuck me.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, that's literally what I was gonna say.